The US government just started a crypto super cycle. We're about to dive into this. Some incredible signals that we need to pay attention to for Bitcoin, Ethereum, Chainlink, and what it means for the other altcoins that we just saw. And we're seeing all the signs and signals that the alt season is absolutely stacking into right now. I hope you guys are stacked. We're going to be diving into this in just a moment. Let's get into it.
Bitcoin, pump, altcoins, pump. I've been preparing for this. Can't nobody tell me nothing. Bitcoin, pump, altcoins, pump. I've been preparing for this. Can't nobody tell me nothing. Bitcoin, pump, altcoins, pump. I've been preparing for this. Can't nobody tell me nothing. Bitcoin, pump, altcoins, pump. I've been preparing for this. Can't nobody tell me nothing. SEC and its policies.
The most bullish thing in the world is setting up and has been setting up for Bitcoin, altcoins, Ethereum, Chainlink, Solana. What we're seeing across the ecosystem as a whole is getting a full double back push from the entire US government, starting what I think is truly going to be a super cycle. Will we have pullbacks? Absolutely, but I think those pullbacks are going to be overwhelming buying opportunities, and we're going to see the price action stair-stepping to the upside. Will we have the 4-year cycle fear that still plays out towards the middle end of Q3, beginning of Q4 this year, 2025? I think so, and people are going to think that this cycle's over, yet I think that we need to look for the buying opportunities into the end of this year, into the beginning of 2026, where I think the price action is going to explode to the upside. So shout out to everybody as you roll in. We've got some incredible charts to look at today. The overwhelming bull cycle, the Omega Green God candles are about to absolutely melt the faces off of the bears. And all of you bulls, you're going to be sitting there with like a dog with your head hanging out the window with just the price action is just going to be flying by us here in the near future. And we have some incredible, also maybe some inside information about some stuff going on with Ondo. So I made another allocation this morning back into Ondo. I was a little bit hesitant about Ondo because there started to be a crowded space with a bunch of different exchanges and other chains also offering tokenized assets like stocks and other things on those other chains. But Ondo has some major things developing. And all I can say is I recommend that you pay attention, you take heed, and you get stacked. Not financial advice. I'm just talking about some of the birds on the trees chirping to us. So we've got to dive in here as the dog is licking my toes while I'm talking to you. I guess that's just love, but welcome to the show, everybody. If this is your first time, I can guarantee you this is not going to... Oh, mother... The dog knocked over absolutely everything. But hey, gotta love a puppy. The dog was licking my toes and then just stepped in every single cable. But we got some overwhelmingly incredible things setting up right now in the charts. And we've got to look at it because it's signaling higher. It's signaling so much higher. It's signaling, have you not stacked yet? Are you out of your mind? We've got to talk about this because this is absolutely going to be monumental for this market, because when we're looking at what's going on, we have the price action sitting right now with the total crypto market sitting at $3.9 trillion. And went a bit higher than this. We're actually pulling back. We are pulling back to $3.9 trillion. Understand what that means, because when we're looking at everything going on, it is monumentally bullish for this market, and the data is only lining up with more and more bullishness as to what is going on. Now, for those of you that have been paying attention to what I've got going on here on BitLab Academy, here on my X account, I just want to shout out, I put you all in the know on a very particular date before all of this happened, and that is March 28th. Look at this, March 28th. I said, Bitcoin and stocks, the risk matrix simplified. When will Bitcoin and stocks pump? And remember, the price action was going into a very steep pullback on March 28th into the beginning of April. And what did I say? I said, watch the Dixie, which is essentially the US dollar index, is the US dollar strength. Currently in max frustration, uncertainty. This is what I'm talking about right here. Max zone of uncertainty. So I was talking about this downtrend resistance here that was acting as support. When the Dixie broke this to the downside, this would be when risk assets pump. Well, once you go ahead and look at these two charts lined up right next to each other, what do they show? They show on April 7th, this is when the dollar broke this trend line into the risk assets pump setup. Boom. When did Bitcoin pump? Well, let's look at this. On the bottom of this chart, you can see April 7th. April 7th, this is when Bitcoin started this monumental move from about $74,000 to now over $123,000. And it was signaled on the most basic, what's going on with the dollar? Is this dollar strength coming up when the price action tends to fall? This would be this right here. Or is the dollar breaking down when Bitcoin and other risk assets start to pump in a massive way? And this is exactly what we're seeing. And I talked about this. Bitcoin super bull trend started on April 7th, as we can see from the front running signal I posted before this happens. So I really urge each and every one of you, if you're not yet, make sure you're following me right here at Kelly Kellam, Kelly Kellam. And I call that out because there are enormous amounts of different impersonating accounts out there, scam accounts. Do not get scammed because you didn't read, or if you looked and you thought it was me because it all looks the same, because they copy almost every aspect of the profile. And then they send you DMs and they say, hey, I'll trade for you. I'm not trading for anybody. I'm not reaching out to you about different investment opportunities. I talk about everything live here on the air or in our Discord, Discover Investments group, and make sure you're in the correct one if you are in that Discord. It is pinned to the top of the live chat right there. It's also pinned to the top of the live chat over on Rumble, but just make sure you're spelling this correctly. Keloy, Kellam. There's no three L's. There's no ones for L's. There's no capital I's that look like L's. There's no Kelly dot. There's no Kelman. Make sure you read. I have somebody very close to me in my family right now going through an enormous amount of trouble from these types of scams that go on. Of course, it wasn't my account. It was something entirely different, but this is happening across the board, all across the internet. So make sure you're paying attention. Shout out to that guy. Says, thanks to Kelly and the other hit network hosts, I'm up 3,300%. Let me say that again. Shout out to the super chat from one of our regular members. This is very important. If you're tracking us along here on Discover Crypto, Blockchain Basement, in the Discover Investment Group Discord, or here on BitLab Academy, or on the profile where I'm sharing all this alpha regularly, that guy right here, that's the name, his username says, thanks to Kelly and the other hit network hosts, I am up 3,300% and going higher. And I hope each and every one of you start seeing those types of returns in your portfolio and see some monster gains, because we're making some great calls. We've been doing it for years here. I've been in the market for 10 years. I know Drew from Blockchain Basement's been in for about 2.5 cycles. We got DJ who's been in since about 2017. We know what's going on in these markets. We've been trading. We've made a lot of money in this market. And our whole goal here is to make sure that you don't fall into the same pitfalls that, the potholes that we stepped in early in our careers. I want to make sure you understand how to read the data rather than being completely subjugated and losing money in this market, which is more regularly than not tied to emotional reactions in the market versus data-driven strategy. That's what this is all about, everybody. But continue on here. We got Irina Kyager. What's up, girl? How you doing? Stay safe. Shout out to you. Alexander G, that guy, Nate 707, Bant, Baby G, H Bardano Bean, Music Tags, K Jam. Let's get this live chat flooded. If you are on X, if you are on YouTube, if you're on Rumble, get in the live chat. Let me know what the biggest gainer is in your portfolio this week. You don't have to say how much, but which asset in your crypto portfolio has the biggest gains this week? Because we got a lot more gains to come. And let's talk about what some of those setups are, because it is monumental. Now, Bitcoin is sitting here. Oh my God, it's pulling back to $117,000. Do you understand how ridiculous that statement is? When I see anybody here go, Bitcoin's crashing, you mean Bitcoin is pulling back. It's having a retrace. We have the gift of Bitcoin having gone so high that now it's pulling back and giving us an insane buying opportunity, not being at all-time highs, when every single thing in the landscape looking forward for Bitcoin and crypto and digital assets is only getting exponentially more bullish? 117 is a dream. I hope we see a bigger pullback down into the zone that I have marked out on this chart, which is, let me go back right there. I don't know why that just went forward. This zone right here, this $112,000, $113,000 zone. I've got the green box here for when price action comes back into it. And there's going to be people losing their minds thinking the bull market has topped. Mofo, when the price action pulls back, and at this target here is not even yet breaking beyond a previous range high, there is nothing over about that bull trend yet. Now, potentially could be a setup for the bull market being over, but I don't think we are anywhere near the Bitcoin and crypto bull market being over. And I'm going to show you why right here. Now, continuing on, what do we got? Whales do not stack in like this when you have a market cycle ending. In fact, this is one of my arguments for why I don't think the 4-year cycle that a lot of people are still tied to, and I understand it's not like a stupid analysis. We have a 4-year cycle that's somewhat tied to what people think is the halving cycle, but you also look, it's also tied to what's happening with the US selection process every 4 years. But then we also have the global liquidity cycle that's also every 4 years. So I understand we've seen a regularity of 4-year trends in Bitcoin as bull market cycles and bear market cycles. Now, we've also never seen this type of metric where the biggest money in the world, governments, corporations, the largest financial institutions we've ever seen, stacking in at this exponential rate. And this is happening into the prices being above $100,000. This tells me we have a new starting point for what I would consider, I don't want to say an extended cycle, but this time is fundamentally different. Now, I hate saying this time's different because all of us can be humbled by that. So does that mean I don't sell anything going into this fall? Does that mean if there's a bearish divergence on the money flow and on the RSI, on the weekly charts going into October, I'm not going to take some profits? No, you always need to make sure you take profits, especially if you're in altcoins. We saw two mini alt seasons in the last 16 months where we thought the alts were going to run higher and they didn't. They fully round tripped back down. If you are in alts, although we see the whales stacking into Bitcoin and there's going to be an extended cycle, you don't know, I don't know, we don't know. We need to sort of merge these two ideas of the 4-year cycle that we have seen play out the last 2 cycles, and also look, actually the last 3 cycles, and also look at what we're seeing with the new fundamental landscape that we have here. So let's take note of what some of these changes are. Let's look at this, the whales stacking in and more opportunity in capital channels for more whales to stack in, especially when you see in the government, we have a crypto week. And then on a day like yesterday, where we saw major news like this, Donald Trump set to open US retirement market to crypto investments. This is boring as hell, right? Well, let's zoom out. What does that mean? The 401k, the retirement class in the US, is worth $12.4 trillion. That is massive. So, US government, are they going all in on Bitcoin and altcoins? It's starting to feel like it. Starting to feel like where we're at in this cycle, where we would have predicted a top prior to seeing that the Genius Act passed, which is getting signed today, prior to seeing the Clarity Act pass, prior to seeing the housing market now getting open to using crypto as collateral, prior to seeing crypto reserves on both corporate and sovereign levels. Now 401ks and another $12.4 trillion asset class is going to be able to tap crypto and invest. Now, this is not to say we're going to get $12.4 trillion in 401ks allocated to crypto, but 1% of this is a massive number. And it's not just 401ks, it's the housing market, it's the bond market, it's just the investment market. Every single market is starting to get percentage points shaved off and getting reallocated into Bitcoin. So this is monumental. And it's not just 401ks. We're seeing all of this stuff passing yesterday as well. It is massive. This is why we are seeing Bob Ross painting this enormous green candle, suggesting, almost forecasting, we are about to have an ultra mega super cycle bull run on our hands. And when did this get posted? Let's go ahead and scroll back. Let's look at this. Oh, it was me just going to paint a happy green candle. Bob Ross, this is who Bob Ross is if you don't know who he is. And I said, Bitcoin and crypto holders strap in. And I said this June 23rd. Seems like I've been pretty good at giving you guys direction as to where the trend is likely shifting. And this has been pretty darn high hit rate over the last 2 years. Now, we don't make every single call on the 1 hour or the 4 hour chart because there's other fundamental news that changes or completely ignores the technical analysis of the situation. Now, what we are seeing on the macro trend is the fundamental signals showing things moving higher, in addition to some of the news that shocked the market 6 weeks, 2 months, 3 months ago, all coming into dates that we were aware of, like July 9th, the tariff and trade war stuff coming to a bit of a head, understanding that we're getting closer to Fed cuts, understanding that the big beautiful bill just passed and that adds another $4 to $5 trillion to the US debt. Everything has lined up into a head that suggested Bob Ross was painting this big ass green candle, knowing that we were about to get a rocket season in the market. And that's what we got. Crypto parabola launch is in effect. So make sure you've taken note. But then what else we got? We have hit $4 trillion in the crypto asset class. This is like the size of NVIDIA, the largest tradable asset out there, the largest company in the world in history in terms of market cap. Now, of course, the crypto asset class isn't one asset, but it is monumental to see that the crypto market is now $4 trillion asset class. I remember when the total market cap hit $1 billion. $1 billion. We are at $4 trillion now. This is so monumental. I don't think you understand. And it's these types of things that makes people that were like, I don't know. You start seeing big money players. You start seeing investment houses. You start seeing registered investment advisors. You start seeing mom and pop. You start seeing anybody that's looking at data or the type of news press that this stuff covers. Hey, maybe I should take a look at that. Maybe there's something to that internet money. Maybe that internet money has more intrinsic value than the fake, infinitely printed US dollars and other fiat currencies out there. Maybe we should take a look at this thing outside the system. This is the new system. And all of you that are watching right now, you're aware of that. But what else we got? What else we got? We got gentle reminder. For some reason, I said Gentile. So let's say Gentile data-driven reminder here. Bitcoin higher. Altcoins just got catalyzed in clarity. Higher for the altcoins. Patience, longer patience, equals profits. And higher profits. What is that? That is this chart right here. The net unrealized profit and loss. I shared this July 16th, 2 days ago. Yes, we're getting a bit of a pullback, 117. We have so much higher to go in this market based on on-chain data, based on wallet data, based on activity data, based on the increase in Google search trends, showing also that retail's not even here yet. We are not in the euphoria stage. We haven't even tapped up near it. This market will not reverse on a macro level until we get this level way the heck up in here where I have it highlighted on this chart that I posted a few days ago. We've got the data, we've got, and then we've got the holy trinity of blockchain, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Chainlink, all overwhelmingly regulated into empowered integration into the global financial market. This happened, and it's been happening over the last many years, but it came to an absolute crescendo peak yesterday with the Genius Act, the Clarity Act, the anti-CBDC, and all of those regulations that have cleared the way forward, given a clear structure and regulatory clarity to not only institutions, big money players, but the world, but also sets a standard for what likely the major players in the world are going to step into as well. Now, these are all very important, and I actually highlighted this as well. I said it looks like the flag representing true blockchain financialization, and the clarity is here. The empowered regulation is here because we've needed regulation, but now banks understand, financial institutions understand, investors understand, and this means that we're going to have a race towards deployment, integration, and thus adoption. And this all spells flood of capital coming to the market. Now, these are not the only three assets that are going to bear the beautiful brunt of this capital that's coming in and absorb this into monster gains. We're going to see things, other blockchain assets across the ecosystem do major things as well. As I spoke about Ondo earlier, having some major integrations that they have been working on with the US treasuries and tokenizing assets, bringing them on chain. We've seen this signaled not only from blockchain people speaking about it, we've seen it from people, major players on Wall Street and in the SEC and in government about the tokenization of assets, securities, commodities. That means all that volume comes on chain, or a good portion of it. So we need to make sure we are stacking, baby. Let's see. Hodl says, K-Jam, can't wait to see you round trip that in 2027, says Music Tag. I don't know why he said that, but shout out. What else we got? Let me scroll all the way to the bottom. I'm all the way. Julie Kettis, how you doing, darling? Joe Bro, how you doing, bro? Neuro 8, let's go. Mike Volmer, good to see you again, Mike. One House Productions, King Peasant. We got the crew here. I want to see everybody getting active in the live chat. I also see who is that on X. Yo Soy reposted the stream. How about this? If we get 15 super chats or 15 new members here on YouTube, if you want to join as a member on YouTube, we can do a combination of those. I'll do a $100 USDT value giveaway. Could be the dollars, could be a gift of that amount. But get super chatting, ask your questions, or do some memberships or gifted memberships. If we get to 15, I will do a $100 giveaway. Now, shout out to everybody here. We got some more alpha to drop, baby. What is it? Will the altcoins actually have an alt season in 2025? Well, looking at this chart from TechDev, an absolute OG chartist and analyst, says here, it's not complicated. Entire altcoin market is in a Livermore cylinder. What does that look like? Let's go ahead and play that. This is the Livermore cylinder where you have this rising, broadening wedge, as you see right in here. And this has been foretold for decades and decades. It's a regular price action chart, especially in emerging assets. And what do we see? We're seeing this sort of play out. And if this projection is so, we're about to see a monster gain in the altcoin market. And I actually said that altcoins max pump alt season has been foretold, and the chart shows that. Will it play out? I definitely think at least some of the top utility plays are going to. Some memes are going to see some monster gains. We're going to see some gains across the board, while some assets have failures like they always do. But I think we're about to see a flood of capital coming into this market. Now, what else we got here? A couple more things, and we can do some TA. The broad bull market in crypto just getting started. How could this be? With the monster gains we've seen in Bitcoin going from $15,000, $15,500 up to $123,000. Ethereum now showing gains down from like $1,400 up to now $3,600. And we're starting to see other coins really starting to carry those bullish legs and momentum and money flow to potentially push higher. When you look at this chart, it shows that we have not even started the real part of the bull market, the part that we're all waiting on, the part that those prophet angels have been whispering in our ears when we dream. And what is that? Well, look at this. The macro trend oscillator. We can see this right here. When this clipped green, look at where this was. Massive parabola to the upside. Look at when this flipped green, Oh my God, look at that. Parabola almost immediately after. We are just now just dipping our toe in that green pool of profits with this. I mean, the crossover is imminent. And if that's the case, then what does this mean if we've had this massive, just beautiful uptrend on Bitcoin? Well, altcoins have not really realized many of these gains yet. I think we are about to see overwhelming max gain parabola profits coming for a handful of really substantial and utility-based and infrastructure-based blockchain plays. Of course, also Bitcoin. The best part of the cycle is here. So my question to you is, drop a comment right now. What are the top 3 performers? What do you think are going to be the top 3 performers going into 2026? I'd love to see it because I know what I'm stacking it into. I've been talking to you all about it. But if this is the case, then where we're at right now and people are wondering, have we topped? We have not even started the real part of the bull trend, which is this parabolic absolute momentum shift to the upside on Bitcoin and altcoins. So let's make sure we are stacked. And then, of course, let's look at some signals for Ethereum. Will Ethereum actually break out and start the real momentum of the alt season? Well, if we look at the previous cycles, and we look at these accumulation zones, we look at this accumulation zone, this sort of push up, oh my God, this is over, and then just slingshot, push up, oh, it's over, and then slingshot, push up, it's over. We're going into slingshot mode, bullish slingshot mode for Ethereum. And it's not just the price action. Hear me now. I do not just look at charts, what the price structure is, and the price to determine what moves I think are going to happen. I look at something like this and also take into account that we have, look at these Ethereum strategic reserves that are getting stacked into BitMine right here. Tom Lee's, where you just talked about starting an ETH reserve. It's already up to the #1 spot, $1.1 billion worth of ETH. SharpLink has been stacking hundreds of millions into the billions. Look at this. They're up to 1 billion now. They have 280,000 Ethereum. BitMine and SharpLink, both not Ethereum organizations, yet they have more than the Ethereum Foundation itself. Coinbase, $497 million worth. Bit Digital, 300. We're starting to see some real movement here, especially with some of these regulations that just passed 2 days ago. So while the structure shows ultra bullishness, the data is also starting to suggest that. And we're seeing other things like the whales, the US whales stacking incredibly on Ethereum. So the shift is here, guys. The data is presented. The price structure is agreeing. We're seeing all signs lining up with this. Now, I want you to notice Ethereum adds 150 billion in market cap since July 1st. That's 18 days. Now, what do you guys remember? A few weeks ago, I was highlighting the peak in history short positions on Ethereum. The largest amount in record of short positions, meaning people betting that Ethereum was going to go down. That was before this monstrous move. Now, what do we see? We see the price action absolutely moving to the upside. And that chart that I shared was this chart right here. This chart right here, going into the end of June, all of these massive shorts. And what did I tell you? I said, I'm expecting this to be a signal that the market's about to humble a lot of people. When you have on the highest level of shorts in history, the majority are never right. When you have the majority, I mean, this setup was the perfect short squeeze ingredient. And now the short squeeze means forced buys, and we're seeing a large movement to the upside. So golly. And then we got this. Check this out. This is what nobody seems to understand yet. This is from I Am Jackass. And what do we see? 4K Ethereum is like 12K Bitcoin. Now, what do I mean by that? $4,000 Ethereum, when we hit it, will be similar in price structure to where we were when Bitcoin was only at $12,000. And where has Bitcoin gone from there? Guys, look at this. Ethereum. This is not yet broken out of the zone like we have broken out of on Bitcoin. this would be monumental. This might even suggest, like Colin Talk Crypto says, maybe we hit that $15,000 mark. Maybe we hit 15 to 20,000, especially if stablecoins get deployed in a very, an overwhelming manner like we're expecting, especially with the use cases that, stablecoins, why would that pump Ethereum? Because the majority of the stablecoins are on Ethereum. Because the majority of DeFi is on Ethereum. Because the majority of the crypto ecosystem is built on the ERC20 standard. And they also have EVM compatible. What is EVM? Ethereum virtual machine. Ethereum is so substantiated and tied into this crypto ecosystem that you cannot, and it is embarrassing if you were counting Ethereum out because the price wasn't moving yet. All the fundamental data was screaming that it was the setup of the century. And I was telling you all about that for those that have been watching here. So shout out to you. We got 2,200 people in the room right now. Let's see, after we got the super chat earlier. We haven't got, do we get any members? We got no, man, I guess I can't do a $100 giveaway. That's all good though. I appreciate you all being here. We got some more to go over. We got some TA to do. We're going to look at some charts here. I want to make sure if you are tuned in here, we still have about 50% of the people that watch on a daily basis are not subscribed. What are you doing? Show some love. Hit the thumbs up. Hit the heart button if you're on X. Hit the thumbs up if you're on Rumble or YouTube. Make sure to look down below the video right now. If you're on YouTube or Rumble, make sure it says following or subscribed. Hit that subscribe button. If you're on X, just scroll up and just, if you're watching this, just make sure you right here, just boom, and it should say follow. Click that follow button there. If you're not following, show some love. Shout out to everybody that's here. But guys, this setup is real. This setup is real. And if this is the case, then I don't know if we're going to go to $15,000 to $20,000. I think anywhere, I would say 7,500 to 11,000 is a very reasonable range. But I think 15,000 to 20,000, especially with all the new regulations that just passed, is very doable. The question is going to be, are we talking about a top this year? Or are we talking about a top next year? This is why we got to track this as this market moves forward, and we continue to see the flood of dominoes falling in favor of stacking into crypto, which is what we've been seeing. And when we look at Bitcoin and we see the dominance breaking down, this is what we were talking about. I talked about this move right here. I said, watch out if this actually bounces or breaks, because we've seen this move to this trend line before. We've seen this move to this trend line before. And I talked about this about the 14th. So watch for a bounce here. And if not, if this drops, we're going to start to see the inklings of Altseason. What have we seen? We've seen the inklings of some nice, decent, not massive, but nice, decent gains kind of across the board in our alts. But this is the area we're watching for right here. And I've had this marked out, this area right here. That area is this zone, this 61 to 62% zone, which we have currently flushed through. Now, where a lot of people are going to lose their minds is if the Bitcoin dominance bounces here, which is a regular structure in price action. When price action breaks down from a trend line, or, we have this right here. If a chart breaks down, it doesn't just go straight down. You see a breakdown, so fall, retrace, continuation. Much like a bull market, rise, retrace, continuation. So watch out for this move, which we already have marked on the chart. If this were to have some sort of bounce here or just continue to fall all the way down here to 60, then bounce, then continue, guys, this would be monstrous for the alt season. Now, I want you all to notice as well, everybody's talking about the dominance like it's going to be the ultimate signal for alt season. I don't agree. I think it's going to be a contributing signal for alt season. However, the market structures have changed from 2017 to the 2021 to the 2025 bull market. And that is how people had to integrate and navigate the market in order to get altcoins. 2017, there's the majority of altcoins you couldn't get unless you bought Bitcoin to trade for altcoins. And then it became Bitcoin or Ethereum. Now you could just port money into your Coinbase or Kraken or whatever, get a stable coin and go and buy your altcoin. So there's a slightly different variable here, in addition to the fact that we have an inordinate and exponentially growing number of corporate treasuries, government treasuries, ETFs that are stacking into Bitcoin, that the large majority of those assets that are getting bought in that fashion, entering into crypto, buying assets through those capital channels, very unlikely they're going to have some big capital rotation into altcoins. That still doesn't mean altcoins won't run. It just means the dynamic, the interaction between Bitcoin and altcoins and how these seasons operate will likely change, which means when we're looking at the Bitcoin dominance, it might not have this massive shelf like we've seen before with this Altseason. We just changed the entire landscape of how altcoins, digital assets, Bitcoin can interact with the global financial network, especially with the crypto-friendly administration, especially with the Genius Act and the Clarity Act, and what we're seeing with the anti-CBDC bill, with the stable coins being able to be deployed and integrated and utilized. The world has changed in front of our eyes. So this structure will likely, very likely, and more than likely, I think, change as well. Does that mean we're not going to get a breakdown on dominance? We'll have these periods, I think, where we do break down. We kind of might chop sideways, but as Bitcoin is running up and we have insane amounts of corporate buying pressure and ETF and government, all these things that are buying Bitcoin and focus on Bitcoin, because of all this new regulation, we're also going to start seeing some corporate focus within Ethereum, within stablecoins, within the infrastructure of the blockchain ecosystem. So I think this metric, while fantastic, I think we need to start being very nuanced in how we utilize it when we're looking at our signal for altcoins. Because sometimes you have to come over here and say, damn, Ondo is looking good as hell. Came down, double bottom, great. We had the money flow starting to tick up here, and then boom, pop bullish right here, option V. Look at that. This is where it flipped bullish, and look, price action came up bullish as well. RSI also right at this point. Look at this. Was butting his head against the 50 line, and then what happened? Boom, the money flow popped up. This broke into the bullish territory for strength, and what we see? Price action popped. Now we have a giant W formation, and this is looking like, especially with some of the knowledge I have about where this is, some things are going to be deployed. I'm just saying, I stacked today. You can do what you want. I stacked even in the middle of this bullish pump. Now, you need to, I have the endurance to hold, even if this drops back. If this drops back, I will be grateful and I will add to my position. But I'm just saying, I'm fairly confident there's going to be some solid movement on this to the upside. But we're really watching the $1.20 zone on Ondo before this. And then I think it's going to be a monster move to the upside. But we're also seeing major moves on XRP. Who are my XRP holders out there? Shout out to you, because you had to endure a lot of hate and frustration and this and that. But there's been these massive periods of accumulation. Massive periods of accumulation. Look at this, from May 2022 all the way into end of 2024. Almost 3 years. And then monster move to the upside. The longer the base, the higher the space. That's exactly what that terminology means, that phrase. And it is a common trading phrase. Now, look, this has been moving sideways for 218 days. Does it feel like it was 218 days ago that we had that monster rally here? Well, 218 days, and now we're getting more positive information and news about what's going on with all these acts that are infecting things like XRP and stablecoins and deployment and integration. And what are we seeing? They're also making some big news, with different credit cards in Japan that you can earn XRP. And I mean, there's a lot of different things XRP and the RL USD Ripple stablecoin are doing. And look at this pop, 2 new all-time highs. And what else followed? Well, look at that. XLM, beautiful falling wedge here. Falling wedges tend to break bullish. Boom. We talked about this. Set up a beautiful W formation, much like we just saw on Ondo. And what happened for this? Boom, popped up. Now, where is the range that it stopped at? The range that it stopped at was right here. Look at that. Right where this rejected, right where this rejected, right where this found support. So it makes sense, right? So now what do? We delete this old school Fibonacci. We measure from the base. All the guys know what I'm talking about. You measure from the base, option F, measure, boom, all the way up to the top. And if this were to pull back, this would be still very, that was XLM. I was like, wait, aren't I on XRP? I was like, why does it say 40 cents? If this were to have a small reversal, coming down to this 382 wouldn't be the end of the world. Now, look at that. This is what I just wanted to show you. I was on the daily, And you can see that you can see how these candles play out here. There's some wicks here and some. So I said, let's go to a smaller time frame and just notice the 382 is exactly where this bull flag or this sort of rejection zone before the continuation happened. So this tells me this would be a great opportunity. Now, what else are we seeing on the 4-hour versus the daily? On the daily, it just looks super bullish. 4-hour, we got a bit of a double top here. So what does the double top look like in relationship to the data? Oh, look at that. Money flow absolutely off a cliff there into the negative. Look at that. Also, RSI downtrend. We have basically bearish divergence on the money flow and the RSI. So will this continue? It could. There's been a cacophony of bullish news, but on an analytical side, this shows money's coming out, RSI is giving a bearish divergence. And now, okay, well, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but now we can plan for a level right there. And we can also plan for another potential buying opportunity down here in the golden pocket. So this one may not hit. It's a bit lower, but I think we will likely get some sort of move down into this territory, basically 40 to 42 cents. Now, what else we got? Ethereum, of course, making some waves to the upside. Came right up into the box. Remember, guys, those of you that watch me on a daily basis, I drew this box, I don't even know, several weeks ago. And look at where the price action. It's like I drew it over here, just kind of on general idea. Look where the price action entered right at the beginning of where this box is. And this is kind of where it's, I don't want to say cooling down, but it's doing some work. It's doing some work in here. We did not really come back and test this major trend line, which is a major trend line. Look, this goes back to 2022. And so we have not yet come back and tested this. I don't necessarily think we're going to come all the way down here and test it, but you have to note that this has been, for the most part, very strong bullish trend to the upside, bull flag up. Okay. Now continuation, I think we need a little accumulation here or something, at least a cooling period for a couple days. We got some bearish divergence here. What am I talking about? The strength, RSI, relative strength index. Here's a high, that's a lower high. See that? So it got a little weaker here, and yet the price is monumentally higher, from 3,000 to 3,700 almost. See this? Monumentally higher on price action, while there's not as much strength. And there's also a little bit of a bearish divergence on the money flow right here, meaning there's a little bit less money coming in as well. So this tells me on a data basis, there's a kind of a high probability we'll likely either consolidate here for a little bit or have a little bit of a move down to 3,100, 3,080 or something like that. If we get a pullback, if we just get a sideways accumulation, then I'd still think we'll get a little bit of a move like in this and then push up into this. I think this is going to be an interesting zone here at the $4,000 mark, but we got some work to do. But it is exciting as it can be. Bittensor Tau getting a little bit of a reversal here. But oh, look at that. Also a bit of a head and shoulders coming back down into the target that we drew here. This was also a pretty big zone. So this does not really bother me. Just means if this comes down into here, great buy opportunity. Boom, 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 boom. And then make its way to the upside. There's something else I want to show you. Aave has been absolutely ripping. Just rising accumulation in a channel. See this? But if you zoom out on this, check out how badass this is on Aave. Look at this. Giant V-shaped correction with a bit of a, I mean, this is just as bullish. This just looks so good. Money flow is getting a little bit weak. This is kind of getting weak here. I wouldn't be surprised to have a little bit of a sideways chop here unless the market just explodes with other bullish news. But we also, I would look for a little accumulation here. But if this does break beyond 353, I think this is going to moonshot. Chainlink, my girl. I cannot wait for Chainlink to absolutely explode higher. Look at this. This is the last time right here. Money flow flip positive. Look at that. Pretty monster move. What is this? Let's see. Oh, come on. This would be 284% move to the upside from here all the way to that top. This is kind of coming back here. The RSI is fighting. It has gotten back above 50. This is on the weekly. What does it look like on the daily? Okay, money flow flip positive here. We talked about this the other day. It broke out of this descending broadening wedge, broke out of this horizontal level as well as this descending multi-year resistance. This has broken past this previous range high. Wouldn't be shocked if this had a little bit of a cooling with everything else here in this zone and then make that next leg up to the 21, 22 potential chop here and then have the continuation. But God, man, I am so bullish. I am so bullish on this market. Solana right at 177. What did I tell you guys? Throw a 1 in chat if you were paying attention. If you saw me when I said watch the 177 level. Look at this, rejected right at it. 175. I actually said 175 to 177. I said this for weeks. Rejected, came down, then actually broke up to where? 177, 178. Came back down to 172. Now it broke out. It came back. Currently, it's retesting right at 175, 177. I wouldn't be surprised if this had a little bit of a rejection down to 168, 170, and then the work, and then the moonshot, or the start of the moonshot, which would be up to the 220 level and beyond. Guys, I am so bullish. Mike Vollmer, that's right. 4 trillion. 4 trillion. The up movement is here. But guys, I love you. I appreciate you. I'm going to shoot you over. Oh, we got to look at Aerodrome. Sorry, we got to look at Aerodrome. Aerodrome getting a little bit. Look, we saw the bearish divergence with these two being flat on the RSI and this being much higher. This came down, retested this high, came back up, down. The money flow is looking a little weak here. I wouldn't be surprised with a little bit of a reset here, which would be a good buying opportunity. But I'm very, very bullish on Aerodrome. Cardano making monster leg. Look at this. That is a 56% move from I mean, not even long ago. This is July 8th. Where did it go? I haven't adjusted most of my charts in days, weeks, months. This horizontal line that's been here, this has been here. Look, where'd it come? It's like it came right back into the zone that I was highlighting. Why? Rejection here, bounce here, bounce here, bounce here, chop here, bounce here, bounce here. Look where the price got sucked into, spit out. Okay, doesn't mean it's over, but I would be a little bit, I don't want to say hesitant. I would just be cautious for a potential opportunity with a little bit of price action back down here to 77 cents. This would be golden pocket as also this range high. The more bullish thing would be to hold this 382, form a bit of a bull flag, and then make the continuation. But we've got some monster moves happening. We have some monster fundamental setups happening. Most people are getting left behind, but if you're watching here on BitLab Academy, if you're in the Discover Investments group where the link is pinned in the description below this video, if you're watching on YouTube or Rumble, it's also pinned in the top of the live chat. Guys, get in there. We've been making some monster calls. It's not just me. It's Joshua Jake, who's doing trading daily in there. Signals, Blockchain Basement, Drew sharing. We got the DeFi crypto airdrops, Veteran Crypto in there sharing DeFi tools and resources, workshops. We got TJ talking about the moves he's making. I'm doing regular things in there, sharing charts, sharing my portfolio updates, which I'm going to be sharing another one today. But guys, I love you guys. It'd be my ultimate honor if you're watching. If you're not subscribed, hit the like button. If you want to like really honor us going into this incredible, and by the way, double, quadruple, mega shout out to my daddy-o. It is his birthday today, so big love to him. My mom's birthday was yesterday, actually. So big love to all of you all. I appreciate you. Hit that subscribe button, show some love. Go be positive on other channels. Share some positive feedback. Call somebody, tell them you love them. Find some gratitude in your heart today. That's all I got. Big love to you. Over and out. I'll see you over on Blockchain Basement. Adios.